Coverage of the Grand Prix of Indianapolis is brought to you by HelloFresh. You already know that HelloFresh is America's #1 food delivery kit. But did you know that you can now customize your favorite dishes with HelloFresh's new Hello Custom offerings by swapping out one protein or side for another, upgrading for a more luxe experience, or even adding protein to a veggie meal? That means more choices, more variety, and more meals truly tailored to you. The name of the game is customization. With HelloFresh, it's easy to adjust your plan and increase your order size to help with meal planning for large groups or to have leftovers for lunch the next day. And as always, HelloFresh recipes include pre-portioned ingredients, and that means less prep time for you and less wasted food overall. The David Land Pit Crew is powered by HelloFresh this May. Go to HelloFresh.com and use the code LAND16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. That's HelloFresh.com. Use the code LAND16 for 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. Well, we got the rain we asked for, and for some drivers it was careful what you wish for, but an absolutely insane IndyCar GP here at Indianapolis. I propose we install sprinklers immediately on the road course and then just run every single one of these races in the rain, because 2019 was fantastic. 2022, that was about as crazy as it gets, to be honest. I don't know if you could have scripted a race that crazy. It gave us everything we wanted. You had the tire strategy, and that's what we really wanted the weather for. We wanted that unpredictability of, do you go on rain tires? Do you go on black tires? Do you go on red tires? And when do you switch back and forth? Because it was raining off and on throughout the entire day. We were down a little bit for a lightning delay at one point. It was just, there was everything you could want in this thing. Lead changes, spins, crashes. They crashed after the checkered flag. Now, the reason that is that a real legitimate safety concern, in my opinion, and the opinion that is shared throughout this paddock at the moment, is that in the first real aeroscreen rain race, we've had visibility problems, major visibility problems. Like I said, Christian Lundgaard and Callum Ilott got into each other after the checkered flag, and I think that's just down to visibility. Unfortunately, a lot of the drivers were not very talkative, as you can imagine, after the race. Certainly the ones that did well were, but we were able to get a quick quote from Connor Daly, and yes, full disclosure, Connor is has very much not necessarily been on the team of the aeroscreen, but I think his concern is shared throughout this paddock. So here's the comments from Connor Daly right after the race. All right, Connor, that was a hell of a race. We couldn't even tell what was going on. How'd you tell what was going on in the cockpit?
Well, we have a serious issue with these cars in the rain. I can promise you that. I didn't see a single thing the last 15 laps. Literally had to have my spotter guide me all the way into turn 1 because I couldn't see. Literally couldn't see the rain lights, couldn't see anyone. So that was absolutely terrifying, honestly. But we just had to keep our foot in it and see what happens.
Wow, that's frightening. Well, noticed there were guys in the back lifting, but that was totally visibility?
Completely blind. Like, literally, I've never been more blind in a race car in my life. That was awful.
So, as Indy Lights cars absolutely buzz away in the background, let's take a look at the results of the IndyCar Grand Prix here in Indianapolis, and then I'll talk about the race itself. Colton Herta, he made so many mistakes this season, but he finally broke through and that was about as perfect a drive as you could possibly have had. He got it done. He even saved the car at one point, did an absolute four-wheel drift all the way through one of the corners on the backside of the course, but also his dad, Brian Herta. Amazing strategy call to go off of the wets early on and onto the red tires, and Colton driving up from 14th on the grid to the win in the slightly shortened 75-lap distance. Simon Pagenaud from 20th, continuing that trend, finishing in second position. You know Simon Pagenaud is so good on this race course, whether it's the oval or the road course. But he was another driver in the press conference that expressed major concerns with the aeroscreen. He actually even suggested an LMP-style windshield wiper to aid with that. Will Power, the pole sitter. You look at Pagenaud and you look at Will Power, they're the two most prolific drivers ever on this IMS road course, and it's only fitting that in such a challenging race they would be on the podium position. Marcus Ericsson was in a crash at one point, but ultimately came home fourth. He was a madman in the wet. Connor Daly, you heard from, it was a great day result-wise from him, but he couldn't see very much of it. Felix Rosenquist came home in sixth spot. He was running up front throughout the day, ultimately got run into by his teammate, lost his front wing, finished sixth. Takuma Sato was up and down the field all day long, ultimately coming home in seventh position. Another great road course run and quiet road course run for Takuma Sato. Callum Ilott and Christian Lundgaard had some great results, but unfortunately the end result, them crashing at the finish, was not so great. Scott Dixon in 10th was at one point a lap down. Ditto Alexander Rossi, who had some strange strategy calls on wets and dries. David Malukas was up and down again on strategy. Jack Harvey had contact with so many different drivers, including Romain Grosjean, perhaps getting some revenge for his teammate, Graham Rahal, a 13th place. Elio Castro Neves, 14th. Tatiana Calderon at one point looked like she was going to win the race. Had it rained and actually had lightning, she was leading it her first IndyCar race. So shout out to her, and finishing on the lead lap in 15th position. Graham Rahal, again, another driver. I could go through all these lists with all these drivers who spun out, but Rahal was one of them. Grosjean was playing pinball at one point, had a bad strategy call. Alex Palou was sideways and spinning. Pato O'Ward, who looked like he was on track to win or on track to potentially have a good strategy call, did not finish 19th. Scott McLaughlin, ditto, another driver who stayed out way too long on the slick tires. Devlin DeFrancesco was in the wars and unfortunately got caught out by a crash of Rinus VeeKay. Jimmy Johnson was running on a potential podium, looked like, had it rained, but he ultimately finished 22nd. I have so many things to say. Rinus VeeKay, a terrible day for the defending race winner here in Indianapolis. I think he had two separate spins, one of those under yellow. Juan Pablo Montoya was the driver who ended the race in the wall. He was running as high as fifth. Joseph Newgarden crashed, but ultimately did finish the race. Kyle Kirkwood out. Dalton Kellett out, capping off not such a great day for the A.J. Foyt Racing team. I'm speechless. I'm just speechless with this race. From a fan's perspective, this was everything you could have hoped it would have been. Yes, and I think it's very important to address. Not only was the aero screen a concern, and I do believe, after speaking to a few people who would know the answer to this question, I'll just say that, there is a solution being worked on. It'll be all right, but that's the number one concern. Number two concern is that I think out of 120 minutes, about an hour of this race ran under caution. The cautions are way too long. IndyCar needs to adopt some sort of a code 60 or a local yellow system, or just some way to speed these yellows up, because you have to imagine there was a big TV audience for this. The word of mouth on social media, it was absolutely buzzing. People were so excited about this thing. It was such an unpredictable race that I think a lot of people were tuning in, possibly even for the first time, to watch this thing. And when it's totally under yellow, people come to watch racing, not pacing. But what a great win from Colton Herta. It's so good to see him get the monkey off of his back. And right before the Indianapolis 500, I mean, he said in the press conference that there is absolutely no translation between what they've done today and what they're going to do in 2 days' time when practice begins for the Indianapolis 500. But you think about Herta, he was on the front row of the Indianapolis 500 last year, and you got to think that he's going to at least be a factor at some point during the month of May. Looking through the rest of the field, Simon Pagenaud finally got a good result. Will Power is now the points leader just through sheer consistency. He's going to be another one that we're going to be watching on the oval track. There's so many stories to tell. There's 33 of them just in the cockpits, and we hope to be bringing those to you. The road course racing, well, it's not quite over. Indy Lights is still going on, but the oval track begins on Tuesday. I cannot wait to share this story with you because the Indianapolis 500 really is a story, and the entire month process is so crucial to how this race is perceived. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you when we're turning left.